there's more ways to extend a helping hand. The financial programs we design with our business partners focus on creating a safety net for devoted employees. We believe secure and happy employees are essential to a successful business.
And we're live. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Good morning to our Zoom participants. And good morning to our FB Live viewers. Hope everything is fine with you. Hope everything is well with you. So, welcome to our another series of HR Virtual Summit PH 2020 Bounce Back HR. So, today we will be having a back to back session. This morning's topic is leverage HR technology to power up innovation. My name is Irish Malanda, your host, and joining me as my co-host and moderator and one of the Ariva partner speaker, Mr. Howell Mabalot. Hello, Sir
Hello.
Howell. Good
Hello, Miss
morning.
Irish. Good morning and good morning to everyone here in the Philippines. Good evening sa mga nasa ibang bahagi ng mundo and good afternoon.
Yes, and Sir Howell, let us welcome our out of the country participants first. So
Mhm.
we have participants from Zagreb, Croatia, Delhi, India, hello.
Mm.
Kota Kinabalu, Malaysia, welcome to our webinar. Koror, Palau, Lima, Peru. Doha, Qatar, Singapore, Bangkok, Thailand, Atlanta, United States. Wow,
Wow.
thank you for joining us. And also, we have participants from Cebu, Ms. Melaine, UP Mindanao, Miss Ethel, hello, good
Mm.
morning. Angie Brillo from Bulacan and Miss Elvira from Price Waterhouse Coopers. Thank you for
Yeah.
joining us today. And in order for us to have a smooth flow of our e-learning session, here are some few reminders and house rules. For those of you who are first time viewers of our webinar, type in the chat box hi now. So type in hi and tell us where you are you from. Okay, let us see. Let's check who are the first timers here. Oliver, Sir Oliver. Hello po from Cebu. Hello, Kurt. Ms. Armeline from Cavinti, Laguna. Hello po. Christina, Monica, good morning. Laura Bell from Cavite. Okay, good morning, everyone. And we would like to know if you can hear us loud and clear. We're audible, so you will be needing a good quality headset and follow the codes below. So type in now at the chat box 111 if you can hear us loud and clear. Let's check. Miss Fatima, loud and clear. Okay, thank you. Jenny, Janina, 111. Okay, we're good. And type in 222 means you cannot hear us. Okay, 2121 means the sound is breaking or there's a log. and question mark if you don't understand anything. But so far, 111, Sir Howell. So
Yeah.
loud and clear. Okay, moving on. We will be having a 2 to 3 minute break after the presentation of our guest speaker and before we move on to our question and answer portion. Participants' microphones will be temporarily disabled by the administrator during discussion to avoid interruptions. Questions will be entertained after each topic of the session. For questions and clarifications during the provided time after each topic, please click raise hand button for the administrator to enable the microphone for live questions. Type in your questions at the Q&A box. One question at a time will be entertained. For comments and feedback, please scan this QR code. This will be directed to our feedback form. Please send us your comments, feedback, topics to discuss for us to improve our future e-learning sessions. Okay, and now I know you're excited to meet our guest speaker this morning to discuss leverage HR technology to power up innovation. Mr. Howell Mabalot, please introduce our guest speaker.
Thank you so much, Miss Irish. It is definitely a great honor for me to introduce our speaker for this morning's session. We have two for the day, but this morning our speaker is the CEO of People Collider, a company focused on improving HR's ability to create a more human future through technology. She has broad experience formulating HR strategies that align workforce evolution to business growth and profitability, designing and implementing HR programs, and supporting the implementation of new HR practices. Over the last 5 years, PIP has been researching and speaking about the future of work and the role HR needs to play in finding synergy between humans and technology within organizations. Everyone, let's all hear it for Miss Philippa Pip Penfold. Hi, Man Pip.
Hello,
Nice to see you again.
everyone. Nice to see you as well.
The last time I saw you in person was last year's HR Summit here in the Philippines.
Yes, in August in Manila. I had so
Yeah.
much fun.
And
We
I-
have to
I-
try and recreate the fun for everybody in
Oh,
a virtual
yeah.
environment. Not quite the same, is it, from our living rooms?
It's not, but you know what? What's happening now is what you have predicted a year ago. You talked about
Sadly so.
dystopia and utopia, and for, well, sadly, it's the dystopia happening now.
It is.
Like
It is.
during the tech rehearsal, I told you, it seems like you're a prophet, not of doom, but of truth. Prophet of truth, and it happened now.
Yes, I know we keep talking about disruption and innovating and the need to be agile, and
Mhm.
all of a sudden it was
Yeah.
very obvious who wasn't, and it's all come crashing down for many of us. A
And
lot
we-
have stepped up, don't get me wrong, a lot have stepped up. It's been so exciting
Yes.
to see HR stepping up to the plate. We talk
Mhm.
about heroes with nurses and doctors and
Mhm.
cleaners and everything.
True.
Honestly, I think HR are some of the biggest heroes in the room.
I
They are the
agree.
ones that have kept the businesses running and the people engaged. So
Uh,
bravo to everyone in
Bravo!
HR. Well done.
Ma'am Pip, if I may just say, well, we believed in what you have predicted to happen. It's just that we didn't see it coming so fast. We didn't see it happening in 2020. But
Disruption, has that happened?
we didn't see it. But then we didn't see it coming, and yet we're thankful that you briefed us and not really warned us, but you have informed us about it last.
I wish I could have helped a little more, but never mind. We
Never
will be
mind.
better prepared for next time. And I think actually in the Philippines, you have been better prepared than many countries. You are used to crisis events, with the typhoons and all these sorts of things.
Yes,
Other
that's true.
markets, other countries, this sort of thing, crises, they're very unprepared for. So I think you'll be surprised. I think in Manila and across the market, you've done much better than most. So bravo.
Thank you for comforting us with those thoughts. Thank you, Ma'am Pip. Which is why your topic today is very relative, important, current, and useful. Leverage HR technology to power up innovation. So, Ma'am Pip, take it away. The stage
Thank you
is
so
yours.
much. I'm just seeing someone has said, Natalie has said they need to check the video, my video. Let me,
Oh,
um,
but I can clearly hear you, Ma'am Pip. So
let me see. Let me
for
share
this,
my screen and let's make sure. I'll wait for everyone in the chat just to say that they can see the title slide, Leverage HR Technology to Power Up Innovation. Can I see some chat just to know that everyone's got this? Yes, thanks,
yes,
Fatima.
yes.
Thank you. Awesome,
Oh,
guys.
yes.
That's great.
100%.
Wonderful.
Yes.
Good morning once again. It is from my living room to your living room. Could be cupboard. I confess that I was on a webinar the other day and I asked everyone where they were, and someone had locked themselves in a cupboard to avoid the children so that they could watch a webinar in peace. I think that all of us, it has been a little bit crazy, but we are surviving. We should be very proud of our efforts. Bravo again. The question now is, where do we go from here? I'm glad everyone can see, log out, fantastic. Oh, you've got the back, thank you in the background, virtual background, very useful to hide the mess that is sitting behind me in the lounge room. Okay, guys, let's get down to business of the presentation. Now, I'm not telling you anything you don't already know. The world will never be the same again. I was quite disappointed that a lot of specialists start coming out with new normal. Were you worried? Like I was thinking, new normal, what's that? Am I supposed to know? And I was asked to do a presentation on the new normal. And I suddenly realized we don't know yet. Nobody. So a lot of the specialists are predicting what it will be like, and we think we have to prepare for it, but actually we don't know what it will be like yet. We are still in a state of flux, and while we know it won't be the same again, we don't know what it will be like. One thing we do know is that to thrive in the future, we will need innovation more than ever. I'm sure in the past, innovation, yes, it's a nice to have, it's a good to have. Some parts of our organization were innovating, some not so much. And I think the ones, I'm seeing a lot of statistics that support the ones who have already been innovating, have already moved ahead digitally, are already in a much more agile way of working. And they are the ones who are able to make the adjustments much more effectively than those who haven't. Interesting to see if those who've dropped behind stay behind and unfortunately fall by the wayside. Today, we need innovation more than ever. So let's just quickly recap on innovation. I know we use the term a lot, and we often have different understanding about what it means. I think that the way I like to think about it is simply an applied idea, method, or product. It's not just, oh, Pam has raised her hand. Are you just practicing, Pam? It's so nice to be able to interact with everyone. Usually on stage, I can't interact anywhere near as much as I can here. This is fantastic. Let me just... Okay, that's all right, Pam, no problem. Thank you for testing the system for me. That's great, no problem. Okie doke, so the most important thing on this top line is that it does not remain a concept. So Apple, we always think of Apple and the iPhone when we think of innovation. It actually doesn't have to be that radical. But what it does do is have to move from an idea or the concept of the iPhone to the reality of the iPhone. And that also means that inventions are not innovations. Innovation is when we've taken an invention and we've applied it. It has been implemented. Ideally, they solve problems. The best innovations solve problems. If we are to think that only the inventions that solve problems become innovations or are adopted, then we can say that yes, innovations are designed to solve problems. The one that I think a lot of people get mixed up about is around, has it been done before? In fact, there's two schools of thought. One is it is something brand new for everybody, never been done before by anybody. And the other school of thought is that innovation is something that has never been done before by us, by an organization, by me. I might do something that a colleague has done, but because I've never done it before, I could call that an innovation. I actually like that second version better. It may not sound as cool and as funky, but I think it makes innovation so much more achievable for all of us. So, and don't forget, knitting needles once upon a time were innovations. So with that in mind, let's move forward to the next hour. Now we're going to break it up. I'm not going to bore you with talking for an hour. I'm sure we've all been zoomed out by the end of the day. That's not my intention. I'll present for about 40 minutes. I'll keep an eye on the time, 50 at most, and then we'll move to a Q&A. I'm much more interested in hearing from you. This is one of the great things about being on a webinar rather than being on stage. I can hear your questions so much better. So I will ask questions throughout and look for your answers in chat, and then we'll use the Q&A functionality at the end of the session. So our goal today is to understand, how do we as HR professionals increase and improve innovation in our companies? We know it is imperative. What can we do to support it? I always think of innovation as being a recipe. What are the ingredients for innovation? We can break these down in multiple ways, but I like separating them this way in the 4 C's: creativity, how we are using our imagination, something highly underrated since we've become adults; how we communicate. I know this is an standard old one that we've talked about for many decades. It remains as important as ever. Collaboration. Many of us have to collaborate, particularly in cross-functional teams in the performance of our job today. And connectedness. I think connectedness today means something quite different for all of us who are sitting here watching a little light or watching people on a screen, where we are missing the connectedness, the social connectedness that we have with our colleagues in the workplace. And while we can have crazy Zooms and WhatsApp chats, Facebook Messenger chat, we know it's not the same. And our connectedness, our social connectedness, is very important to us as humans, but also for innovation. Okay, time to try that chat out again. I'd like you to answer either one or all of these questions. It's really just to give you a time to think and for me to see what you're thinking. When did you last use your imagination? What did you use it for? Did it help you solve a problem? What problem was it? And how did it make you feel to use your imagination? Who'd like to start with some of the answers? Got the chat up there. Looking forward to your answers.
Okay, don't be shy. Type in your answers.
There's no right or wrong.
There's no right or wrong. When
No
you
right or
last imagination.
And you're allowed to say, finishing my work from school. Morning cookie for breakfast. Thank you so much. Yeah. Scenario book, fantastic. Baking at home. Do you know, I love everyone is baking. I have started baking as well. It's been so exciting to be able to get more creative in the kitchen. I agree. Lots of creativity going on in everyone's kitchens at the moment. Fantastic. I think a lot of people are practicing creativity with their children and trying to emulate schoolwork. Who else? How did you feel? Was it nice to be able to use your creativity again, your imagination? Tourism problems. Yes. Thank you, Monica. That's a big one. Thank you. Good to see you, Mila. Wonderful, Oliver. And your daughter. Thank you. Yes, it is wonderful to be a child again. If you saw my presentation in August last year with the Ariva Academy, we were talking about the human skills. And we often talk about complex problem solving and all that cool stuff. And I'm always amazed we never remember imagination. Imagination is so important. Yes, we're using a lot of imagination to work out how to survive, keep the kids amused while we're trying to work. Yes. Oh, that's right. I'm so great. I'm glad to see you guys being creative and using your imagination and feeling good for it again as well. That's wonderful, guys. Thank you so much for sharing. Emmanuel, Amy, thank you. That's fantastic. So it just goes to show we can be extremely creative when we need to be. Interestingly, creativity, while we have not talked about it a lot, has always been there as number one importance. You may remember over the last 5 years, a lot of presentations have included 2 lists of top 10 skills. The ones that were number 10, top 10 by the World Economic Forum in the Future of Jobs report, and then what they predicted for 2020. Creativity in 2015 was ranked as number 10. And they predicted it would be the number 3 skill needed for 2020. Now here we are in 2020. I put it to you to think about, do you think it's fair to keep it at number 3, or have recent changes meant that we've actually needed it to be a number 1 skill? Some great more chat. Thank you, guys. Lockdown, a lot of creativity. Thank you so much, Venus. That's great. So, and another study I find very interesting is the one by IBM. They did a global study of CEOs, and they selected creativity as the most crucial factor for future success of their business. Interestingly, that was done in 2010. I'm sure a lot of them 10 years later in the current environment agreeing that yes, creativity is definitely the most important skill and one of the ones that is ensuring future success. Luckily, we can learn creativity. We can teach it. We can teach people. So we've seen the ability to be creative by taking on challenging tasks. I think a lot of us have been schooling from home, and we would call that a challenging task. We've never appreciated teachers more, I think, than we have in recent times. And the ability to retrieve knowledge outside the main area of expertise. If you've heard me speak before, you've probably heard me talk about this one. We've seen it in the T-man, the T skills, the depth and the breadth of our skills. And I have been encouraging us as HR professionals to develop skills beyond our area of expertise. So yes, we absolutely need depth in HR, but we also need breadth. We need breadth in different areas of business, how to interpret customer feedback, what we can do about it. So we need to give people opportunity to take on challenging tasks, maybe not more challenging than they are right now, but also to be able to retrieve knowledge outside their main area of expertise. One that we find, and you'll find some information in Daniel Pink's book, Drive, about this, based on the work of Edward Desai. Very interesting to see that if you reward creativity with money or with another extrinsic reward, creativity goes down, not up. Only intrinsic motivation increases creative performance. So, can we assign people things that they will enjoy? Can we help develop expertise where people are passionate? Because if you are interested, if you have intrinsic motivation and a passion to learn something perhaps different to what you are currently expert in, then your creativity is exponentially increased. I know that a lot of us were not great bakers at the beginning of the lockdown, and we can now say we are baking a lot better than we did with the help of YouTube and mums and other learning platforms. We've learned how to how to do certain tasks in the kitchen that we never could have before. So we get a great deal of satisfaction. No one's paying us to do this. In fact, if we were paid, it wouldn't be nearly so fun. So we're passionate about it. The ability to learn something outside. I'm sure there are no professional chefs on this call today. So it's not something where we have a specific expertise, but it's been great to develop it as we've gone. How do we need to do it? So as HR, we need to think about the learning opportunities. I just want to take an aside here and talk about how we've focused on learning in this current environment. I do not agree that if people leave this lockdown period without having learned a new skill, they failed. I think there's been a lot of memes and a lot of talk that if you come out of lockdown, you should have this new skill and new ability. And, I don't believe this. I'll tell you why. We actually don't need space in our calendar for learning as much as we need headspace. And a lot of us are really struggling. Baking is as good as it gets. Learning Python, learning something else. No, we are not got the headspace for it at the moment. Learning takes emotional energy and space in our head where we've got time. Now, some people will have that. I think most of us in HR do not have that. It's a luxury that we can ill afford. We certainly haven't had it up to now. But we do need to think about the learning opportunities we're offering our people today in this current state of flux and in whatever the new normal may be as we move forward. We need to encourage cross-functional learning. I'll talk more about this as we move forward. This is very, very important. And the learning platforms. I know in HR we love giving learning that is linked to a competency framework and a strict set of activities and capabilities and competencies that mean people will be able to move up the hierarchy. This does not help innovation. It does not. We need to think very differently about the platforms that we're using that help people develop a different expertise, satisfy their curiosity, use their imagination, connect with different people. And the other thing is how we go about helping people engage with them to solve problems that spark their imagination. We'll talk more about tech tools as we move forward, but the knowledge sharing and collaboration platforms are very important. So 3 things to check out. What learning platforms are you using in the workplace? Are people, is it very structured? Are we allowing anyone to get onto it? Are we talking to people about other technologies, whether it's MOOCs, encouraging them, but not enforcing, not making them feel like a failure if they have not got the time or the bandwidth to do it? Peer-to-peer learning tools, very important to help people learn. We learn a lot from each other. We certainly share a lot of information, much more than we do. While it's all online, I know we still, in spite of all the baking, I'm sure you still found peer-to-peer learning some of the most valuable when it came to baking, whether it was sharing something over Facebook, whether it was looking up, calling a friend or WhatsApping. We learn peer-to-peer better than nearly any other way. And then the knowledge sharing platforms. I'll talk more about those in a minute. Okay. Time to get this chat in motion again. Communication. I know it's a standard one, but it is very important. So here's some questions. How has communication been managed during the crisis in your organization? Feel free to rate it if you like. No one will know where you're from, so it's okay. You can be honest, or you can answer anonymously if you want to be really honest. How has it differed to usual? And what tools have been used? What technology tools? By who and for what message? Who's used it as the communicator and who has heard it as the audience? Don't be shy, guys. G Suites, yeah, great. Thanks, Venus. Is a good one. I use that too. Who else is brave like Venus? I think everyone's popped up to the washroom. Grab a morning coffee. Email, yeah, still studying. Ouch, lots more. Fiber, yes, fiber's been great. Thank you so much, Sharon and Lorabelle. Facebook, where would we be without Facebook? And Slack. Isn't it funny? Slack used to be so popular, it seemed to drop out, and then all of a sudden we came back again. Yeah, all virtual today. There's been a Q&A. I'll just make sure that's, yeah, fantastic, guys. Don't forget to answer these questions in the chat, and we'll move to Q&A later on. Fabulous, guys. Thank you so much. It's interesting to see how everybody is moving everything online, and lots of different communications. Viber, Zoom, Messenger, Facebook, email. Are you the same generation where you think that email is actually quite old school now? Okay, let's go into it. We'll move through this one quite quickly because I know you know your stuff here. It is always important. It never isn't. But what has become very apparent now is the need to have an ability to communicate with multiple mediums. Everyone was sharing a huge array of technology tools to communicate. Who had to help their leaders do this? Did their leaders, their leadership team, actually even know Viber existed? Were they able to communicate in this way? And were they able to do it effectively? Did they understand the power of emoticons in the right way in a professional setting? So it's quite difficult. And let's think about, that's great. Venus has just brought it up. Exactly. You've popped up on my most important point. It's actually not just the people who are sending it. It's the people who are receiving it. I've had my mum stay with me while we've been in lockdown, just because she's old and I want to ensure her safety. And it's fascinating to see where she is getting her information and what she believes to be true. The generational comfort with technology for communication and the trust we place in that is very real. So thank you, Venus. That is very important point that I want everyone to go. And it's not just the ability to use multiple. It is us being able to support our leaders to use multiple mediums and different methodologies and understanding what our audience needs. This is absolutely critical during crisis communication. We know this. We've seen this of late. It's all been a little bit crazy. And then leading cross-functional teams. Now, I'm just going to stop very quickly and take it aside on cross-functional teams, because this is absolutely imperative when it comes to innovation and collaboration. If you are leading a cross-functional team, you need to be able to have a specific and articulated goal. But if you are leading a cross-functional team, you need to be able to communicate a specific and articulated goal. This is very different when we're talking about communicating with people in different environments. It's a little bit like the generational. It is a different dimension of diversity. With communication, we must think of the multiple dimensions of diversity that we need to address. So how can we help? We can help by supporting leadership development so that they can lead cross-functional teams effectively. We also need to communicate innovations, successes, and stories. We know as HR that it is the stories that make our culture. Oftentimes, if you ask someone to explain their culture by the values, yes, we hear, but you ask them to tell you a story about how it describes, it embellishes or embodies the culture, and we're able to do that a lot better. We know in HR the power of storytelling. I know we've been trying to get it into our data and analytics, but for innovation, it is also very, very important. We can think about all those 4 C's and how we're communicating successes with each of them. And back to Venus's point as well, we need to keep an audience diversity in mind when supporting leadership communication. Okay, quick recap on technology, social media. Well, I think we've got this one. Being able to utilize common communication tools. Do you know, a lot of people say email is old school. Well, not for everyone who needs to get the message. If you're only communicating in email, yes, you've got a problem, because I know that anyone under 30 will not be reading that message. But for people in the 40 up plus, yes, absolutely. And we know this in HR. We can tell people things 3 times before they've actually heard. So repeat and repeat and repeat. Okie dokie. Keeping an eye on the time because I want to make sure we leave a lot of time for questions because I'm loving this chat. I'm sure you'll have some great questions. Collaboration. On to the third C, collaboration. Who do you collaborate with most at work? In your functional area, outside your functional area? Feel free to share either before the crisis or after or during where we are now. Do you collaborate on cross-functional teams? So cross-functional teams could be, I work on a project, I'm HR, and I work with finance people, IT people, a vendor, and a supplier, as an example. And the cross-functions, as a team, we have a single goal. So who's working on cross-functional teams? I'll just give you a moment to have a think and pop it into the chat. Yeah, thank you, Amy. Sales, yeah. Next com, yes. Senior always, we're always in cross-functional and senior team. Who else? Ops with logistics, yes. Absolutely. Department heads, yes. Thank you so much, Etienne. Laura Bell, we do a lot of collaboration. Yeah. Market research, finance, IT, yeah. We work in a lot of cross-functional teams. Who thinks they work in more cross-functional teams, that they collaborate cross-functionally more today than they did, say, 5 or 10 years ago? I think we do in HR. What do you think? Move products efficiently? Yes. So I think we are all agreed that we are all working cross-functionally and collaborating with people outside our area on a regular basis. I think it has increased. It certainly has over the course of my career. When I started in HR over 20 years ago, the only people who collaborated cross-functionally were senior personnel. Today, nearly everybody does, regardless of level. We are all collaborating with people beyond the boundaries of our function. So the ability to collaborate cross-functionally and operate effectively in a cross-functional team is very important. In fact, collaboration is so important. There was a study done by Deloitte, and they, in collaboration with Google, no pun intended, and they found that there was $9.3 billion, sorry, that's Australian dollars, worth of value being left on the table without effective collaboration. It's a huge amount of money. And that companies that prioritize collaboration were 5 times more likely to experience increase in employment, double profitability, and double outgrowing competitors. So collaboration is very, very important for all of us, including our businesses, to be able to leverage financially these days. It isn't only for innovation, it is for everybody. I think we've covered most of this, so I'm going to keep the timing short. It is part of the recipe. It's one of the key ingredients for innovation, alongside the ability to collaborate cross-functionally. And we've seen that a lot more digitally advanced companies are more collaborative. This is an interesting one because it suggests that companies, now this is not technology companies, these are companies who have evolved their ability in their digital transformation, and that they are being more collaborative. Now, if we think about on what we collaborate in a cross-functional team, where we're collaborating, it is often technology driven. Most of us, that first really big cross-functional team came because we were implementing some technology. Now, and particularly in HR. So the companies that have moved quite far on the digital transformation process are actually by nature much more collaborative because they have to be to get there. So it's very interesting to see that the statistics are showing that those who are more digitally advanced are more productive. But this means we need to change a lot to collaborate well. It does not just happen overnight. our work practices and our behavioral norms all need to change for us to be able to collaborate more smoothly and seamlessly with people beyond our function. I often think it's that when I see an organization chart, it's like going along with an eraser and rubbing out the boxes around the names. I find that they are very restrictive and we are not collaborating well. I'll mention this again when we talk about connectedness. So I had to laugh when I saw this because Gartner found that 50% of team communication was through collaboration platforms. And we'll move into the tech in a minute because I promised you with the title that we'd talk tech. Now that was a while ago. That was before the crisis. I often wonder how much we are relying on collaboration platforms and how effective we're finding them today. It was worth only, and I will say only, because back in 2018, $11 billion in the collaborative software market. I'm sure we have blown that out of proportion, out of the water already. We are all Zoomified. We were not using Zoom on a regular basis. We all are now, where we have pajamas on the bottom and suits on the top and crazy home life in the background. But the market has definitely exploded. So these are impressive numbers pre-crisis. You can imagine where it is now for the platforms of collaboration. So let's have a think, because I think a lot of us, when it comes to assessing what we've got and working out, do we keep it? This is important. What are the features of good collaboration platforms? There's 4 of them. And this came out, and I've collected these from a variety of 3 studies, 1 from MIT and 2 that were published in HBR, Harvard Business Review. So it's a really interesting mix. The number 1, documenting the mission and goals. Now, remember in the cross-functional team, one of the most important things was to be able to articulate a shared purpose, that goal, that vision. From a platform, the ability to document it on the platform is extremely important. Roles and responsibilities. What do people do? What are they in charge of? What is their expertise? One of the MIT study found that if you are sharing the expertise of the people on a team, particularly when it's cross-functional, people are leveraged, people are used much more frequently and able to contribute, because we understand not just what their job is, but what they are capable of doing and what they can bring to the table. So it's the roles and responsibilities. I would augment that by saying also the capabilities of the individual. So for me, if I was on a team, it would be HR, maybe HR technology. But my love and my curiosity, my interest in AI might mean that I bring more to the table as well. So that's a very important one, to be able to do that in a platform. So when I mean a platform, I mean, goodness, I've misplaced my phone. That's very strange. So it's just something on your phone. Just something on your phone. That an app, that's what I mean by a platform, if you're a little confused. So, and the other thing is a roadmap, a process roadmap. So you know where you're going. People have that shared path in mind. The second one is around how we're exchanging knowledge. Now, if we think about the way that we are communicating, that is a way of sharing knowledge. But it's very disparate. We're using multiple systems to communicate different things. There are some fantastic tools out there. I found some virtual whiteboards lately. They're really cool. I didn't know about them beforehand, where you can literally sit with in a webinar and scribble together on a whiteboard, a virtual whiteboard, of course. Really interesting technologies that are coming out. It doesn't have to be part of a single platform as long as you can integrate it with the platform. So the most important thing is to think about the knowledge that you need to exchange and how it is captured. And the capturing is actually more important for later. It's not just for that immediacy. It's being able to go back and have a look at it. The third one, coordination of activities. This is a little more detailed than just the process roadmap. I think a lot of us use tools like project tools where this is very, very well done. Maybe not the other components, but this is very well done. We know what our deliverables are, things like Jira and Trello and all those agile project management tools, very good at these things. They are necessary, but they are not sufficient to foster good collaboration. And the last one, I find this one a little bit melancholy because it's strange to share, because today saying this, it means something so different to if I said it before. We know in HR, as HR professionals, we understand this importance of keeping people together, being able to express ourselves, making sure that people feel valued, they've been heard. We're not just talking. That's another reason I love the chat. I know that you are hearing me. But good collaboration platforms allow and support different types of communication. I'm sure going forward after this experience, the COVID-19 experience, we will all look at communication or anything where people connect online. We will look at it differently because we have a different understanding of that social need, one that we didn't have experience in quite the same way as we do now. So that's a very important part, and my favorite one to end on in terms of the features of good collaboration platforms. So what can we do in HR to support collaboration? And this is aside from tech, as well as tech, but aside from tech, because we need to do both as HR. We're not one or the other. We need to make sure we're developing people, develop the skills so they can work cross-functionally well, and the leaders. We need to orientate our awards away from individualized and creative work. We want people working well in teams. We should not be rewarding individual effort. I know this is a contentious discussion point. I'm happy to come back to it in the Q&A if you like. And it is very difficult, particularly when it comes to our performance management systems. How do we get away from this? But remember, if we are rewarding creative work, we are undermining creativity. If we are rewarding individual effort, we are undermining teamwork. So it's not to reward separately, it's just to make sure that we're orientating them away from that, not necessarily towards the opposite. We also need to recruit differently. We're hiring for collaboration. Have a think. The last person you recruited, was there much? Did you ask them about a story of collaboration? Did we assess how well they can collaborate? Did we hire just for the skills and the capabilities that they have now, their current expertise? Are we fitting them into a little narrow function? Or are we having a much broader? So, for example, the example I shared, I'm passionate about artificial intelligence. Not artificial intelligence in HR necessarily, but AI. That is a different dimension, and we've all got different dimensions to us. Every single one I know on this call, I don't even have to ask, because I know you have more dimensions to you than fit in that little box, fit your job description. We need to hire beyond it. And if we hire the capabilities and the skill set for effective collaboration and a broader set of skills, we will be able to help our companies collaborate and innovate much more effectively. And that also goes to our structure. We need to move away from the functional silos. And the corporate social network. Corporate social network. Have you heard that phrase before? How do we go about supporting informal community building with the corporate social network? No, I don't mean the technology. I mean the connectedness between people, which brings us to what I think is the most important, particularly in days like today. So, questions, more time for our chat. Let me bring my chat group up. Thank you so much. Oh, great. Thanks. Sorry, Rose. I just saw your last one there for the last question. Thank you. Okay, here's the last set of questions I'd love to see your answers to. Do you feel connected to your colleagues? Do you have an affinity for them? Are you friends? How often do you participate? Are you right in the center? Do you like being the one first on stage for karaoke? Or are you a little bit more shy when it's your turn, you sneak away to the bathroom? You like to watch everything on the sidelines. Do people come to you for input and information, or are you the one seeking support from others? How close do you feel to your team? How has it changed? Looking forward to your answers in the chat.
Okay, don't be shy. Do you feel connected? Say yes if you do. Ayan.
Yeah, nice one, Griselda. Yes, I think we are Zoomifying everyone too much these days. Nice. Thanks, Alan, Zev. Thank you so much. Not always. I love the honesty. Thank you, Fatima. Yes. And yes, HR, we can feel like a family. That's very true. We're good people. That's really lovely. Yeah, trying hard. Nice one, Anna. Not always easy, is it? Nice idea, not always easy. And I love that. Thanks, Elaine. Family spirit is present. I think even in families these days, when we're all stuck at home, the family spirit is hard to maintain. So yeah, that's great. Wonderful. Thanks, Ella. Regina, thank you. Maurice, yeah. Okay, you're the first one to communicate. Wonderful. I think this is very important for us in HR, that people feel that they can approach us. That's great, guys. Thank you so much. Thanks, Pam. Thanks so much for sharing. We are social creatures. We have this need to belong. When we are being onboarded, integrating us into the social network is the most important thing if we are going to increase retention and even productivity of people. When we are connected, we have a sense of belonging. We share information. Now, remember, we want people to share information in difficult situations, like in cross-functional teams. We want people to collaborate. It is important that people share information. We also want people to cooperate. It's interesting that when there's a high degree of connectedness, people are more cooperative and trusting. And last but absolutely not least, today, employee well-being. We could talk about this in the Q&A. I'm happy to. Employee well-being is so important, and the connectedness that is related to that, or the being disconnected, which I think sometimes for our own well-being is necessary. Times have certainly changed. I'm not going to dwell on this topic here, but I did want to leave you with this image. I would, if you have not yet explored organization social networks, please do. These are very important ways of understanding our organization. Let's have a look at these images. So what it is mapping, every little spot is a person, and the line between them represents communication. So it might be an email communication in between the people. Now, the image on the left shows that the functions do not have much interaction with the other functions. In fact, the blue, the green, and the red teams have absolutely no involvement with one another whatsoever. Being able to operate cross-functionally is extremely difficult, will be extremely difficult for this team. If this is what your organization looks like, and the communication between people today across different functions, you have a different challenge to if you are the company on the right-hand side, helping people. How do they learn how to communicate, to work cross-functionally and collaborate and communicate with people from different backgrounds? On the right-hand side, they've got different problems. I would say there's two teams, and yes, they are highly integrated, but there are two people you can see near the top left-hand corner, the two little green dots that aren't connected to anybody. Now, for me, this would worry me as an HR person. To me, this means that these people are likely to leave. There is a low degree of connectedness. it would also concern me greatly if they held some very key information for the business, if their knowledge and expertise is critical. Because if this was done and we were mapping, say, a month's worth of communications, they have not communicated with anyone for a month. So there's a different issue that we need to understand and address as HR people. So if you've not done it already, I encourage you to look deeper into how to understand and map and your organization, your company social network. There are some great tools available to do it. Happy to take it offline and talk to you about them later. But now let's move into the tech. So there is a plethora of tech tools available today. I know you will recognize a lot of them on the screen here. It's difficult to separate social network and collaboration. I like putting them together because when we think about our ecosystem, what tools we're giving people, it is quite different. What to do today? So what I am going to task you, not on the call, but to take away. Number one, we have spent so long building the employee experience we wanted, and right now, it doesn't exist. A different one has been created by default or design, or simply the choices that we had to make. There now exists a virtual employee experience. We need to go back and question, does that support innovation? What do we need to do about it? How are these 4 C's affected by a virtual EX? And like we do in the normal days of employee experience, when we're thinking workplace more commonly, what does that experience look like now? What does it need to, how has it changed? And how do we need to modify it further for our organization? We've got some really, we're lucky right now. There is a huge amount of information that we can go out and gather and learn about our organizations that we couldn't have before. Please use this opportunity to gather information, focusing on the experience. Map the tech journey. Understand how different people in your organization have used different tools. Understand the employee journey and the experience associated with this. We know technology is a key part of the employee experience. It can look so different. This is just one organization. All the tools that would be using, that an employee may be using in the course of their work. I encourage you to go and have a look, map what that journey looks like for your people today. And then redesign your ecosystem. So there's a lot of different ways of looking at it. There is a number of sites. If you feel free to reach out over LinkedIn, I'm happy to help. But there are a lot of different ways that we, different tools and specialized tools, whether we're scheduling, whether we're doing chats. I know a lot of the one on web and video conferencing, like we're using now, is a lot more common than it used to be. So you need to think about the ecosystem for innovation and as aligned to the employee experience. Now, we're at 8 minutes, so I'm just going to leave you with one. Let me see. Yep, I'll put this one in the deck that I send out. But I want you to leave you with one key idea. Technology is not the solution. We need to understand the problem, and because things have changed, the problems have changed. While we need to think about what the new normal is, it's not here yet. We are actually in this state of flux where we can analyze yet again. We know innovation is imperative, but please, technology is only part of the solution. It's a very important part of the solution, but in itself, it is not a solution. Always look for human and tech together when you're looking at solutions. With that, I'm going to pass it back over. Are you there? Where are you? Oh, thank you so much. I'll give you back control. I'll thank you so much for everyone's participation on the chat. It was fantastic talking with everyone. So I'll hand it back to you. And please, everyone, I'm open to any question that you'd like to ask, unless you want to know what is really behind me here. That's the only one I won't answer.
Thank you so much, of course, Ma'am Philippa Pip Penfold. Ma'am Pip, thank you. Big hand. Ayan. Clap, clap, clap.
Thank you so
We're being
much.
flooded with thank yous and gratitude. You know what,
Thanks,
Ma'am
guys.
Pip? You have been consistently reminding us that technology is there for us to be more human.
Yes.
The first time I heard you, even until now, thank you for that message. Thank you for championing you, us being, us needing to be humans and not robots. And we thank you for that. We thank
Most
you for
welcome.
that.
Thank you.
So
Thank you so much.
So, Ma'am Pip, if it's okay with you, we'll be having our 2-minute break.
Oh, of course.
Okay.
Have
So
my
what's the
coffee.
2-minute break for? That's your coffee break. That's your well, if you want to go to a room or fetch yourself a glass of water. But then again, for we are now being flooded with questions as well. So we remind you to write down your questions at the Q&A box. And before we leave for a 2-minute break, you will not see us for 2 minutes, but we don't want you to go away. We would like to greet our birthday celebrant, the only birthday celebrant today. Happy birthday, Anil Malayatil. Anil Malayatil. Happy birthday!
Happy birthday!
Happy birthday, Anil. Happy quarantine birthday. Okay. Happy birthday. And
happy birthday celebration.
All right. So again, this is just the first half of our webinar. The second half is even more exciting because Ma'am Pip is excited to hear from you. So don't go away. We'll be right back. We promise.